It's Wednesday, August 26th, and the time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Education Minister Cynthia Bradshaw responds to accusations of disrespect leveled against her ministry in the lead-up to consultations with educators on the safe resumption of schools in September. Leaders of the Barbados Secondary Teachers Union, the Barbados Union of Teachers, and the Association of Public Primary School Principals contended that a decision to meet with hundreds of teachers at the Wilde Gymnasium was a deviation from an agreement reached during discussions with them less than a day before. The minister acknowledged that the smaller meetings with teachers previously agreed upon needed to be adjusted at short notice and explained that information was only disclosed to unions to strengthen communication with them.
This meeting was called and I believe my Chief Education Officer acting would have only have indicated that this meeting was being called by the minister and disclosed certain information at the time, simply because I've been saying to her that we have to repair the damage that has been done in terms of communication with our unions. As a consequence, I believe they may have taken that to mean that we were seeking their rubber stamp for holding the meeting. But things change in the course of, a short time frame. We were able to secure this gymnasium, which has a capacity to hold the large number of teachers that we wanted. To try to do it over the number of schools that we had initially looked at would have presented problems in terms of the length of time our discussions would have taken. There are practical issues that led us to make a decision that was different from what they were told the minister was looking to do. It was not a disrespect of the union in any way, and I've explained that to the teachers, and I think they understand the sincerity with which I operate.
Minister Bradshaw said none of the unions represent all teachers.
I'm not concerned that this will ruin relations. I think at the core of this is the fact that this is a meeting called by the minister to speak to teachers across the profession. There is no representative of teachers that represents all teachers. And for people to believe that they represent all voices is totally incorrect. And I believe that while I am going to continue to listen to union representatives, we have to accept that there are some teachers who are frustrated as well by the representation of the unions. There are some teachers who have become disengaged by the process because they feel that everything always seems to be a fight with the Ministry of Education. These are some of the teachers who came here today to say firsthand, this is how we feel, and we are grateful for the opportunity that the minister and the ministry has given to them to be able to express and to share their views for the first time in a long time. So discussions will continue.
The minister will be holding consultations with primary school teachers today. The Ministry of Tourism is embarking on a campaign to help struggling businesses in the sector rebound from the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. The initiative, dubbed Barbados I Come From, seeks to encourage more locals to visit attractions, restaurants and hotels and to take part in other tourism-related activities. Minister of Tourism Lisa Cummins spoke about the marketing campaign yesterday following a tour of Andromeda Botanical Gardens and other establishments in Bathsheba, St. Joseph, with other ministry officials and members of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
As you know, COVID has slowed down the movement of international travel and has allowed us to be in a position where now many of our attractions are not at full capacity. And we have always been dependent very heavily on visitor traffic coming to the majority of our attractions. And we want to make sure that we're able to keep these businesses afloat, to keep Barbadians employed in these companies. And so the next few months will see us on the road every week. We're going to be meeting on the ground and in the communities with all of the attractions, with all of the entities, for example, that you see on Barbados in a nutshell and all of the key advertising platforms. But we're also going to be meeting with small shops and small persons who are inside the community, for example, who are landmarks for tourists, but not necessarily for Barbadians. And so, as Marcia indicated just now, we are going to be kicking off a domestic tourism initiative as well, where we're going to be getting the tourism workers, for example, who are the front line of selling the tourism product, but who are at home now while they're awaiting their properties and their businesses to reopen. We're getting them back out into the market.
In addition, the tourism minister hinted at technical assistance for restaurants, attractions, and other tourism industry spaces that have not been able to withstand the crisis.
course of the last 4, 5, 6, 7 months now, you have had some businesses that responded to the lockdowns and the closures very differently. There are some businesses that have been able to weather the storms. There are some businesses that remain open. There are some businesses that are at 30%, 10%, 15% capacity. And we have to consider the impact that will have socially and on the financial well-being of those persons who are employed there. So it's not a single issue, Marlon, in fairness. It is a significant issue that has multiple levels of repercussions and implications that we have to look at comprehensively.
And you mentioned linkages. I didn't hear you mention about the restaurants, for example.
We're seeing them too. We're seeing the restaurants as well. We're going out to the restaurants. We're actually going to be working with, PS has been leading the charge in reaching out to all of the stakeholders to ensure that we're able not just to meet with them, but to be able to offer solutions. So we are meeting with the various economic advisory teams. We're meeting with the development teams, the business development teams. We are refashioning within the ministry one of the existing commissions to focus on business continuity and business development to give them empowerment support. And we're working with the various line ministries as well to see what measures are available to support them.
Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Abrams' response to a local evangelical group that has taken lawmakers to task for using what it described as underhanded tactics to alter the national position on same-sex relations. Last week, Family Faith Freedom Barbados intensified its objections to portions of the Barbados Welcome Stamp Initiative and the Employment Prevention of Discrimination Bill 2020, which in their opinion contradict the country's long-held values. Asked about the issue during a press conference yesterday, Minister Abrams said nothing could be done about the legislation at this time since Parliament has been prorogued.
As you're also aware, Parliament has been prorogued. Any tweaking to any bills or any consideration like that will have to be addressed after Parliament restarts. So I can't say anything more than that. Those issues are being raised at a time when we're not in a position to address them. You can probably properly direct your questions to the Attorney General, who would have more of a finger on that pulse with legislative reform than I would. But as I said, at this present time, Parliament is prorogued, so it's unlikely that any legislative amendment or pushing to get things on is on the table at the present, not just in relation to that, but in relation to anything. When Parliament starts back, the normal parliamentary agenda will resume, and the considerations of all the things that the government feels is in the best interest of Barbados to do, and all the laws that Barbados feels that is in the best interest of Barbados to amend.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, Director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Aitin, has raised concern about new COVID-19 infections in the Caribbean as countries open borders, resume commerce, and students gear up to head back to school. She was speaking at the latest PAHO media conference on the impact of the ongoing pandemic on the region.
During the first months of the pandemic, virtually all Caribbean island countries and territories have avoided major outbreaks thanks to strong political resolve and a smart mix of public health measures. But now that non-essential air travel is resuming across the region, several countries are reporting spikes in cases. 2 weeks ago, the Bahamas observed a 60% increase compared to the previous week, while St. Martin, Trinidad and Tobago, and the U.S. Virgin Islands all reported a 25% jump. This is not just driven by tourism. but also by citizens who are returning home after the lockdown. We know that countries that depend on tourism cannot remain closed indefinitely. But as they reopen, they must use all the resources available to reduce risk for their population.
On the international front, Hurricane Laura is expected to rapidly intensify within the next 36 hours as it barrels up the Gulf Coast of Mexico. The impending system has sparked evacuations in parts of Texas and Louisiana, citing the storm's strength and uncertain path. More in this report from Reuters TV.
Laura strengthened to a hurricane on Tuesday, threatening to make a direct hit on Houston later this week, and prompting evacuation orders for hundreds of thousands of people living on the Gulf Coast. Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
If you are subject to one of these evacuation orders, you need to be doing all you can to make sure that you take the action that needs to be taken to protect your life. Those who stay behind may be caught in a situation where rescue teams may be challenged in being able to rescue from a situation that could cause you to lose your life.
Laura is projected to make landfall as a possible Category 3 hurricane in the Texas-Louisiana border region late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, according to the National Hurricane Center. Laura skirted the southern coast of Cuba on Monday, but did not cause as much damage as it did in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, where it killed at least 10 people. This storm comes on the heels of Tropical Storm Marco, which weakened sooner than expected.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.